Dr. Nana Yao, there is still COVID-19, correct? Is it still? Because I'm looking at the
Yes,
TV and
there's
I'm seeing the
still.
crowds. CNN took the ticker down, so I don't know the Johns Hopkins bulletin that showed us how many people are dying, how many people are,
Uh-huh.
where we are. That's gone. So
Yeah.
we have the illusion that the maybe COVID-19 is gone. Is that false?
No, it absolutely not is not gone. I think I was either listening to your show before or Joe Madison, where someone had mentioned that we can't actually keep two thoughts going on at the same time. So now that we had COVID-19 before, now we have these protests with regard to George Floyd. That takes over the consciousness. But we have to remember that there is still COVID-19 going on, and people still need to wear masks. People still need to some degree, social distance as much as they can. Wash their hands frequently. So while you're out there at your protest, make sure you have some hand sanitizer in your backpack or your pocket. Make sure you have water so you don't get dehydrated. Make sure you're taking all the same precautions that we had just 2.5 weeks ago.
You have personally experienced some deaths because you are a geriatrician, Dr. Nana Yao. I do Sarcody. And talk about that because there's still a lot of people who are dying and suffering, and we seem to have forgotten. So I would like you to bring that back to us.
So I'll give you the example in Maryland. So in Maryland, state of Maryland, I track the numbers also for my organization as well. And we've noticed that the number of hospitalizations and the utilization of ICU beds has started to decrease. That's good. That's a good sign. Definitely a good sign. However, if you also track the number of new cases that are coming out, those are still increasing. Now, that's also very expected because we're doing more testing too. So the more tests you perform, the more cases you develop or the more cases you find also. That's just basic screening and testing methodology. Unfortunately, the ICU admissions and hospitalizations are decreasing because those people that are testing positive may not need that level of care, which is great because that means that they're not as severe. However, if you're still immunocompromised, if you still have the major risk factors, this could all still turn on a dime. We were heading in the right direction, great, but at the same time, with all these people clustering together, and on the news you see a lot of people not wearing masks, right? Things that really upset me are the National Guard or the police not wearing masks. And on television, you see this. They may be wearing eye shields, but the eye shields protect the saliva or the droplets from getting over on your face. But still, the bottom of the eye shield doesn't cover your mouth and your nose, right? So the whole reason why you wear a full protective mask is to cover your mouth and your nose at the same time. And then you wear the eye shield to protect your eyes. So you need eye protection also. The deaths are still there. I think today in the state of Maryland, we had at least, I don't mean to be morbid, but again, I track these numbers. I think it was 40 or so deaths today. Okay?
In one
So
in one state.
in one state, correct. Correct, in one state.
Doctor, have you seen, there were some reports that came out, I think it was yesterday or the day before, frankly, hashtag what is time, all the days are running together for me. But they talked about the fact that there were 19,000 new cases across the country. And I wondered, is that because we're testing that many more people, or is that related to the Memorial Day fiascos where people were gathered without masks at the Ozarks or the Lake Ozark or, doing their spring breakish type of activities? What do we know about that? And what are you drawing from that? What do you predict may happen as a result of all the protests?
Well, I assume that number is accurate only because in the state of Maryland, between Memorial Day and that following Tuesday, there are at least 800 new cases here in Maryland. And each day there's at least, on average, 300 to 400 new cases, right? They're not as prominent as prior to, but there's still a number of cases that are increasing. So if that's only one state, imagine New York, imagine Seattle, imagine New Jersey, imagine all the other states. And then put them all together, that's where you probably get your 19,000. So it's just a numbers game, right? And the testing infrastructure is a lot better now also, right? We're almost 11 weeks, 12 weeks in? I can't even remember what the time frame is. But we're 10 weeks in, so the testing infrastructure is a little bit better. So people are testing more or have ability, or the access to testing is a lot greater now. So yes, we are testing more. More cases are popping up. They may not be as severe as prior to, but utilization is still there as well. So we just still have to be careful and not forget that there's still a pandemic going on.
But actually what has happened during this the protest is that a lot of the testing sites have been redirected. And so the testing that started to be ramped up the walk-in testings have been closed or redirected or shifted. So I think since Friday, these past couple of days that have been going on, we're going to see an interesting spike, I submit.
She said, I submit. Yes. You know, and it's funny when Dr. Nana Yao said it's hard for us to juggle two things. I don't think that's true. But I think the media has fallen down on the job. I feel like they treat us like we're stupid. And that's something I was trained as a journalist. You never treat your subjects or the people that you're trying to reach as if they're stupid. You know, you report to them, let them figure out how to digest, but you got to give them the news. To take that ticker down, I don't know why you can't just keep it up on the side. The way you had it there before, just as a reminder, because I started looking for that to see when we crossed 100,000. And the last time I saw it, we were at 105,000 deaths. And but what are you guys finding in terms of, because I said maybe COVID-19 is going to just go away, the way SARS and MRSA and the avian flu and bird flu and all the other things that happen, maybe it's just going to go away.
No. I think we're setting ourselves up for a disaster, in essence, right? Like protest is needed, but in terms of what we're seeing, and in order to protest, you've got to be charged, right? And so we're talking about sputum, right? We're talking about close contacts. And so I think these next 5 days, I mean, it takes about 14 days in terms of it to kind of surface in your body, but about 5 days in order to actually see the symptoms. So I think these next couple of days are going to be telling for a lot of people, unfortunately.
And you know what's interesting is that one of the things that people are starting to point out is, unlike traditional protests, which are taking place within the normal functionings of a capitalist society, people don't have no jobs to go back to right now.
Right.
Or you're working from home, or you just have the capacity to engage in ways that before, when you had to be somewhere at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock the next day, it was going to limit your activity. Now we're seeing people who are more engaged for the longer haul. And, I'm looking at my feed right now. There's protests happening right outside where my office is located on Bedford Avenue and Eastern Parkway. Like, people are able to have a more sustained level of involvement, which also means they're going to have more sustained levels of exposure. So this inability to talk about both and is really troublesome. It's really
and keep in mind, too, that this is also, there's a lot of global protests going on as well. So it's not just the United States.
No.
So even in places where they've seen numbers go down and now people are still clustering together, you can only imagine what's going to happen in the next, like Michelle said, in the next 14 to 21 days as well.
John Boyega has been out there in them streets. But he's been on Twitter, too, handling people. I love him. In London, of course, Switzerland, all over the country. France. I mean, all over the world. France, the Pope had something to say about it. I'm like, okay, this is a thing.